Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in to check out your boy, D Funk. Thinking right out here in the lab. What I do for you. Oh, I done went in the crates and pulled out some old school information. Oh man, I'm freaking out. But let's get to the lesson. We'll give you a heads up. This is gonna be history lesson. Let's go. Rightism. 25 rules to live by. Storytelling. Story with a message. There's a message in the story for life. I'm giving life lessons. You tuning to receiving them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Right thinking mission, and that's what I'm on, is to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinking's way of life through a mental and spiritual discipline practice daily will help and guide you to obtain your goal of spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission is that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, your goal is to know thyself. You see where I'm going with this? Let's get there together. So I asked the question, do you know you? It's rhetorical, but if you don't have an answer for yourself, tune in. I can help you with that. That's what I do for you. A person who knows not that they even know not, is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not. It's simple, but you can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. Appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believe and think that they know is dangerous. Avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm the spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person, who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself, and to my yacht be true. I want to introduce some who may not know this guy as some who know him as well as I do. Henrick Clarke, Dr. John Henrick Clarke, or for me, Master Teacher John Henrick Clarke. When you have a few titles and a few labels and all of them suit you, you know you've done something right. It's a word that's in his bio that I ran across. Now, studying, if I got something, I look it up, I Googled it. I know now why I got such an affinity for this brother, because I know he was self-taught. Old school. That's where I got it from. He won the last in the Mohegan, so let's talk about that. So right now, right thinkers, let's talk about introduction to by John Henrick Clarke. I'm gonna give you the background that he laid out, tell you his story. I got 2 pages of information. After that, I'm gonna get into a nice little something for you. Got that coming up for you. So let's go. The civilization of Egypt and Africa in general is the most written about and the least understood of all known subjects. Why is that? Oh, this is not an accident, okay? Or an error in misunderstanding. No. The availability of information? No. Except for Egypt, African people have been programmed, what? Out of the respectable commentary of history. They take what they want, leave that out, okay? By design, like I said, it ain't by accident. Now the European men white. When this book was written, it was being politically correct. In the 50s and the 60s, if you want to talk about them, you got to call them by the ethnicity or by the Europeans. We didn't call them white man then. They didn't call us black men, but that's the diff. We had Africans or the Negroes. They're the Europeans, okay? The Greeks, the Romans, all of them guys, okay? White. That's what I got on. Now, Europeans have claimed the non-African creation of Egypt in order to what? To downgrade the position of African people in world history. If we're the originators, how is it you going to tell world history without us? When we speak about us, oh, that's black history. It was black history before it was world history. Moving on. This is the stuff we had to deal with. Oh, it gets better. Now, they had laid the foundation for what they call Western civilization on a structure that the Western mind did not create. In doing so, what happened? They used no logic. They didn't have none. Why? Egypt, a Nile Valley civilization, was already, watch this, old before Europeans was even born. That's why. The Nile Valley civilization also existed, what, before Western Asian civilization along the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. We know about them from the Garden of Eden, but we was before them. How about that? And people ask, in all your teachings, you never teach the biblical? No, I don't do nothing. Why? Because the white man wasn't around for my ancient ancestors. That's why. No prejudice, nothing against them. It just wasn't there. The Greeks were the first ones. Okay. And we taught them. This fact, watch this. This fact was acknowledged for years by the European academic hypocrites. They hid the facts and the truth, who thought what? They had gotten away with what? Claiming Egypt as European. If you look right now, when I was studying this 30 years ago, everybody in Egypt was black. No. Now, they got a bunch of light-skinned Egyptians. So, they done whitewashed us. And my man said, Infudisi, the real Egyptian stuff is in the back. The stuff that they want you, the Mesopotamian, Sumerian stuff that they can finagle with the different colors. So now all of a sudden, we got all these light-skinned Egyptians. Just moving on. But at least, watch this, they wanted to claim Egypt as European, or at least Asia, okay? Creation. But the archaeological research, which came up with truth of Europeans, disproved their claim. They was proven wrong. Why? They didn't do their homework. They could not find a single artifact in Western Asia or in mainland Asia that was older than any artifacts of the Nile Valley civilization, meaning we was there first. We've been telling you that for the longest. That's not an argument. But now you see, watch this, in the 50s and 60s, oh, they was, woo. The Nile Valley civilization, or what they call Africa in general. How about that? Now, this revolution created a new dilemma for the European commerce of Egypt, right? They were saying, in effect, figuratively speaking, sorry, a child gave birth to himself. Impossible. And then he created his own mother. What the what? I call the Jews Jew bastards. This statement shows they created themselves, took a mother without no father. That's why they bastards, they're fatherless. So that's what he's just saying. I got the concept a long time ago. That's why I call them Jew bastards. A lot of people, they're not that. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, excuse me. But yeah, I know who they are. Tony Browder, who wrote this book, young boy back then, The Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. I done lost my cover off the book, okay? So yes, but I get work out of my book. I get knowledge out of my books, okay? In my library, all my books are read by me. I'm just getting to put them on the show, say, well, I got that. No. So, sorry about that, but yeah, I'm a reader. And the Nile Valley civilization is about, watch this, he went about correcting some of these, misconceptions, not really misconceptions. So what? So that now you, the reader, in fact, can be introduced to a Nile Valley civilization in order to fully understand its role as the parent of future civilizations. We kickstarted this thing. When we speak of the Nile Valley civilization, it and its contributions, that's what we're talking about. I got a whole book for this, and this is just the page number 9. Okay, I ain't even got started yet. It must be understood that we are not talking just about Egypt alone. No, we are referring to a strip of geography that extends over 4,000 miles. That's the Nile Valley. The river ran 4,000 miles through Egypt. It was the lifeline for the whole country, and everybody along that lived off the Nile Valley, up and down into the body of Africa, and said the what? And that touched on the multiplicity of what? Civilizations along in Africa, along the Nile Valley. Sorry. It was indeed the last great civilization in Africa. Not the first. Okay. No, we ain't saying that. We were the last. Why? When we had it, we perfected everything that was handed down, and we put it all in stone for future generations. Hence, we're studying it to this day. Still studying it. Half of us don't know what the hell you got anyway. But that's the power of the black man on the Nile Valley River. This is our history. They're not going to tell us this. You're not going to get this in your university. You know, ain't happening. The country, here we go, the country the Greeks called Egypt. They didn't want to name it. They named everything. They came and just named everything, okay? We say Asar, we call him Osiris. We say Aset, we can call her Isis. Nephthep, we call her Nephthys. Haru, oh, that's Horus. What? I got a problem with that too. All our gods, they just took the names. They didn't create none. Moving on, I did that lesson. But let's talk about this because I really want to get to this lesson of what they think of us, okay? The country of Greek called Egypt was never referred to as such by the African people who lived there. How about that? Abyssinia is what they called it. Archebulan is what they called it. They never called it Egypt, okay? So, what became Egypt? Because to the white man, they called it the burnt face, Egyptos, okay, whatever. And it was complete, Egypt was a composite of what? A number of nations using the Nile Valley River as the world's first cultural highway, up and down. We invented our boats. God, metaphorically, traveled in a celestial boat. They found a boat in Khufu's tomb, broke down with nothing but rope and wood, and is functionable to this day. They would take the boat, put it together, go on the other side, get to land, break it down, pack it up. Same thing we doing now. They was doing it ancient time. There ain't nothing new under the sun. They was bad. Okay, so that's my concept. I forgot to read my intro to my man John Henrick Clarke. Sorry about that. Let me get this part and I can get right to that. But now we was the introducers of the cultural highway by boats. The rehearsal for what would become Egypt occurred in the south, in the nations known as present maps as Ethiopia, Sudan, all of those lands. The only group of people that was not colonized by the white man was the Ethiopians. They have their own religion, concept, they got their own Bible, they got their own Christian views, they still say they got the Ark of Covenant. These original spiritual religious concept of Christianity, they got the original Bible. Their Bible a little different than y'all. Why? Because that's theirs and y'all got y'all's. It's always been separation. Moving on, okay? But, and understand that the Ethiopians, the Sudan, and adjacent territories, I mean, everybody along there worked in harmony, lived together until the colonized came in, the white man. Let me get a little breakdown of my dude, John Henrick Clarke. I need to do this before I started. That's the dude there. He's one of the prominent, respected black men from our era when it comes to teaching, okay, giving information. And these are the people that he hung out with. Watch this. He's a bad man. The African world lost one of his favorite sons with the passing of Dr. John Henrick Clarke on July 16th, 1998. 1998, okay? He was 83 years old when he made his transition. Now, Dr. Clarke, who will long be remembered as one of America's foremost audiodidacts, okay? That's a self-made, self-taught person. I love this guy because he taught himself. I've been spending 30 years teaching myself and grooming to understand the things I need to know. So I understand what that is. I'm one of them now. Okay, I read the word, looked it up, found it. Yeah, self-taught. Say, don't wait, self-made man, you don't hear about them no more. He was the true self-made man intellectually. Most self-made men are on the other side. I was one of them too. But yeah, he is my dude. Always respect him. And an educator. He was called the master teacher. His thoughts and writings have influenced. I'm one of his students. And leaders worldwide. Watch this. He helped draft the charter of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. This is back in the 50s. And it may be early 50s. And was the founding president of what? Of the African Heritage Studies Association. He was big on group studies, getting together, how you grew up, get together, throw ideas around, put the time in, the group study, and that was his thing. And Dr. Clarke was an advisor, watch this, and a confidant to many notable, including Kwame Nkrumah, and you got Zora Neale Hurston. These are all African people that we might not know about, but in Africa they were prominent leaders, and he was cool with them. That he advised them. My favorite, Malcolm X. He tells a story about him and Malcolm X. Malcolm called him the pork eater. He said, "Yeah, my brother Malcolm, I understand what you're saying, but when all we had was the pork from the white man who had enslaved us, and we don't eat the pork, you don't be here." They was good friends. Okay. Matter of fact, he was at the burial. So matter of fact, he the one that organized it. Okay, that's how close they were. Him, Dr. Ben, Malcolm, they was all bosom buddies. And guess who else came into the mix? Martin Luther King Jr. He also taught James Baldwin, not one of my favorites, but the white man seemed to love him. Then Betty Shabazz, influenced her. You got Bill Cosby and Camilla Cosby. Okay, but these is all prominent blacks from the 50s and the 60s when everybody wasn't doing it, so you had to be real meticulous about how you conducted yourself, how you represent the black people around the white man, so this and the third. That's how it was done. So you had to be a certain gravitas. Okay, that's them. Watch this. Now, John Henrick Clarke, his accomplishments are depicted in a great and mighty walk and an award-winning documentary which was produced by actor Wesley Snipes, and he will be missed by all who loved him, and his spirit will never be forgotten. When you hear me say no exceptions, yeah, that's one of his phrases. Okay, John Henrick Clarke, and he'll tell you no exceptions. I love that guy. But yeah, we need to learn about our prior black leaders because he was a bad man. All right, you got tributaries of rivers, and these nations, watch this, they fed into the Nile River and made it a great historical river of the world. And technologically, Nile Valley civilization gave the world. Remember, the Nile Valley civilization gave the world an achievement in what? Building and in spirituality. My favorite, they knew how to get to God. They knew how to serve and worship God in earnest. Watch this. Over and above anything any nation or people have ever achieved before or since. They went almost 4,000 years living in peace and harmony amongst each other. We can't go a day in family households together, more or less years. Come on, man. So they've done something we have yet to duplicate or even come close to achieving in modern times. Watch this. Now, out of the Nile Valley civilization came the world's first. Out of the Nile Valley civilization, yeah, I said that came the world's first organized spiritual literature, aka hieroglyphs, Medjugorje. This literature was so profound. How profound was it? Some of it actually inspired the writings of the Bible. And your three major Western religions, Hebrewism, Christianity, and Islam, were extracted where? From the spirituality created by the priests and wise men of the Nile Valley. of the Nile Valley. I want to get to this other stuff so bad, but there's some stuff here, some more information now. This is a little bit fluff, but I'm gonna get to this because I'm dying to get to after telling us about us or what they thought about us. I'm a little excited. Let me calm myself down. Now, early in its history and its development, the Nile Valley civilization created a basic way of life we call Maya that attracts what? Teachers, technocrats, priests from what? Other parts of Africa, always what? Enriching the original composition of the Nile Valley civilization, meaning they was growing, okay? Organized farming and domestication of animals, life gave the population a more than adequate food supply. We heard about the famine and the starvation back in ancient, the Christians tell about Joseph when he came in 7 years, all that. No, Africa have never had droughts and famines where the people starve. That's a misconception. Every time we see that commercial about Africa, that same little boy with the big African stomach, the same fly sitting on his face. Don't get me upset. That upsets me right now. I don't want to think about that. Now, organization farming, we did that supply. Okay, we gave population and we had more than adequate food supply, even for the animals. Okay, therefore, Egypt could attract what? Workers. This is important. We had workers from other parts of Africa. We had work being done. We had civilization. We had some of these workers were what? Farmers at one part of the year and what? Master builders another part of the year. Why? Work on the temple of the pyramids. Okay, working for the pharaoh, doing his work. And when the season time to plant, they stopped working and became farmers. Okay, so they had work year round. And the time of the Nile, what's this? Was overflowing its banks and the deposit the rich soil and on adjacent farmlands. When the Nile Valley flooded, they had that soot in it that left back that made the vegetation grow. They had built in manure. Okay, they didn't need the horses to do that or the cows. The Nile Valley did it for them. And the workers and the craftsmen were what? Building on what? High ground away from the river. Smart. The assumption that this great period of what? Building required massive use of what? Slaves. Wrong. Right there. We proved that that was a lie, but the Hebrews used that to show that they exodus out of Egypt because they had us as slaves, making us build the pyramid, making us making bricks with straws, all this nonsense. Never happened. Okay? Massive use of slaves is an assumption and an incorrect one, nothing more than that. Again, when you look at the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the great temples of Egypt of the Nile Valley, you have to consider one thing, what? The fact that no slaves would have built with such skill and exactness. You can make a slave pick, tote, lube, but you can't make them give you perfect work. Craftsmen, skilled craftsmen built the pyramids in the discussion, and not no damn aliens, all the other nonsense they coming up with. I just see them now, you got giants walking around carrying. Why is it that an ignorant person won't admit when they don't know something? Just, you don't know. Don't make it up. Don't know. Just don't know. Moving on, because you don't. If you got to guess, you got to pull out your butt, you don't know. Many of these structures that we built have been standing, you ready? For over 6,000 years. And they tell me that the information they get from Mesopotamia, 6,000 years old. Okay, well, damn, the pyramids that old. So what you saying? They wasn't. Moving on, I ain't get to that argument. I ain't trying to have that nonsense debate either. Waste of time. I teach, I don't debate. The word slave, first of all, and the image of the slave as a worker is a recurring image in what? The minds from the Western man, Western civilization. That's their concept. It's hard for him to what? Conceive or extend work of this nature without the use of what? Forced labor. Wrong again. But in his mind, that's all he could see. The factor that has not been taken into consideration is what? Is that it was a great flowing of spiritual fervor and commitment before the formation of the organized religion. Before we had religion, we had spirituality. And everybody was on the same accord. Religion took God and put him up high and we down low. He's in heaven, we in hell. That's the concept that the Egyptians, our ancient ancestors, didn't have that concept. We didn't have a devil, okay? Now, moving on. When you consider the Nile Valley civilization that also includes the Sudan and Ethiopia, again, the only uncolonized country in Africa continent that wasn't colonized by the white man, and the contributions to civilization becomes more massive. The further back you go, the more black we get. Trust me on that one. The parent of what would later be called Egyptian civilization came from the south. Again, we the last. We just took everything that was given to us and showed the world what it was. And the Greeks came down and took it and showed the world as if it was theirs. Moving on, I got to make that point known. I can't stand it. The first organized society was in the south, aka Upper Egypt. The evidence of an ancient mining complex that is older than the existence of Egypt has been found where? In the south. There are more than a dozen pyramids where? In the Sudan. Indicating what? That they rehearsed for pyramid building started in the south. The Europeans have problems with this revelation because they assume black Africa proposed to be a legitimized white Africa. How? Where? Oh, they brought Tarzan in. He's the king of the jungle. He couldn't survive the jungle. That little punk chimpy. Nah, calm down. Get personal. Leave Tarzan alone. I was a fan of his. Man, White Smeller. He's a good swimmer. That's all he was good for. Diving off. And yeah, that was his thing. He's a swimmer. I get it now. I didn't know that. But what they forgot is that everybody in Africa, understand this, who cannot be referred to as an African was what? Was an Adam invader. Or the descendants of Adam invader. How about that? The Arabs' invasion of Africa started about, you ready? Now, with the Arabs, they didn't come into existence until 632 AD. Okay, the fact that the Arabs have been in Africa for over 1,000 years does not rule out that the fact they still are what? Invaders and part of the massive occupying army. They just teamed up. At the time, Egypt never had an army. They didn't need one. So they thought. See, wouldn't moving on. But at the time, Egypt was getting what? Its great civilization show on the road. And the Arabs did not exist as a people. Again, invaders. Like all invaders, they too have done Africa more harm than good. And my man John Henrick Clarke would blast them for that. I got some more information here, but it's I got to do it. And my man Tony Browder, who did this book, is one of the latest of a number of messengers attempting to what? Tell the story of the Nile Valley contribution to civilization the right way. For 37 years in the classrooms of Howard University, William Leo Hansberry made an attempt to get this message across to nearly 2 generations of students. And he died before his massive 4-volume work on the subject could be published. But they picked up the mantle. Willis and Higgins in the Harlem History Club, which they're all part of, that's where Malcolm hung out at, Dr. Mann, John Henrick Clarke, my man, the New York guy, everybody know him, but the New York Christian rabbi, I can't call his name, but I'll be back soon. But all those guys hung out together. It was a nice thing. In the 30s, made the same attempt until his death in the 40s. They was doing this for a while. And Jamaican-born J.A. Rogers, I got his book, Christianity Before Christ, devoted over 50 years of his life in the studying of the role of African personalities, both men and women, in world history. Carter G. Woodson, in his book African Background Outline, and W.E.B. Du Bois, white people loved him. In his work, The World of Africa, added a new dimension to the search for Nile Valley contributions to the world civilization and Africa in general. George G.M. James also challenged and assumed the originality of Greek philosopher and indicated its Nile origins. In recent years, the greatest explanation of Nile Valley contribution to the world has been made by African historians themselves. Why? Because they ain't going to tell you the truth. We should know about us, from us, by us. FUBU. For us, from us, by us. Moving on. In the work of Cheikh Anta Diop, my dude, I call your attention to his book, African Origins. I got it over there. Civilizations, Myth or Reality. And the last book finished before his untimely death, Civilizations or Barbarism. Cheikh Anta Diop finished essay on this subject is included in the Nile Valley Education in the Journal of African Civilization. The essay is called African Contribution to Civilization. The exact sciences. We brought the knowledge to society. In his book, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, now Tony Browder has associated himself with some top-level academic company. These was the boys back in the day. He was young then. Now he's the man. He is both a teacher and a learner. That's how it's done. You learn and then you teach. You learn, you get better, you master, then you become a teacher. In both cases, he has done exceptionally well. My man, appreciate you. I remember when we started out 30 years ago. Keep doing your thing. I ain't stopping either. Moving on. John Henrick Clarke, April 1992. That's how long this was. We got over 32 years of knowledge. Now I'm about to go to the next level and show you what they think about us. So let me shut this one down. Hope you got the lesson. Try to make some information. Hope you digested it, understood it, and appreciate it. I'm about to come back with something really good stuff. So in closing, right thinkers, may you all live to be 100, me 100 minus a day. So I never know that my right thinkers with knowledge of self have passed away.